करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै. That first hai is not in a Plutaswara. Somebody in this side said the first hai is hai and then in the last sentence as well. So please correct that. So let me put my disclaimer out there. Today you will hear a lot of coughing, not from there but here also. Yesterday we looked into a topic, an aspect which is quite popularly misconstrued. It is the topic of Varna Dharma. Varna Dharma, Varna meaning the four Varnas of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Even loosely translated, we cannot translate it as caste, but that is what is the popular translation, that this is the caste system. Some of the misrepresented or wrongly understood concepts. It started with the British rule. Until then, this kind of a concept was not so misrepresented. The credit goes to a certain researcher who did not even step into the Indian hemisphere. His name is Max Muller. And he in his own lifetime has said enough in the later parts of his life to discredit his research that was done purely on the behest of the British to manipulate the Indian subcontinent, and that it did not hold any worth. Do you all know HMV? There was a quiz on that. What is the gender of that dog? Do you know the?
Yes, once.
So the gender of the dog is, it's a male, because it is his master's voice. HMV stands for his master's voice. When they started, they were the first ones to come up with the disc record, LP records, the wax records. And the first voice that they launched, at that time, a great historian as well as anthropologist that had created a name for himself was Max Muller. And he was invited to do the first recording, and it was done in an open public speech. I have had the opportunity to hear that speech. It is there in the British Library if anybody wants to access. And as he comes onto the stage, he starts with a surprising note. He says, Agnimi Ide Purohitam. He starts with this mantra. he pauses and asks, how many of you in this crowd know what I just recited? Does anybody know what I just recited?
Fire.
Agni fire, wow. Sadly though, that is our condition. Agni mide purohitam. Agni is the first Purahita. Even the priest is called a Purohita because their presence in that town should amalgamate the entire society for their upliftment. Purahita, Purahita Kara, the one who does absolute good for the society. So Agni is the greatest Purahita. Fire brings in lot of good things along with it, knowing how well to handle that fire. So invoking the fire, that is the first mantra of the entire Vedic literature. The first mantra of the first Rik from the Rig Veda. And this Max Muller openly chants that as his first introduction and then says, this is the chant or the mantra from the world's most ancient civilization called the Vedic civilization, and I take this opportunity to go on record as the first recorded voice to render my apologies to the entire Indian civilization, because through my studies, or what I have done through my studies, I have misrepresented that entire civilization. I seek an apology for that civilization. He himself has said it. And even up until today, when the Western researchers go into in-depth analysis of Indology, studies of Indian various language scriptures, that in itself is a big department, because we have about 23 languages. Now, in Indology they have 28 languages because they include Nepali, Sinhala and other languages, and about 2500 dialects. When you take just the Indian country, we have 23 languages and 1600 dialects. So all the study of these languages and their evolution is called Indology. So when the Western Indologists, historian as well as anthropologists, they base their study off of what Max Muller has translated of the Vedic literature, represented the history, as well as the various scriptures that have been translated into English. They hold that Max Mullerian translations on the highest esteem, which he himself has disowned. Now, why did I go into so much analysis or information about Max Muller? If you read his entire work, there are some things that stand out. If you read, because I am in that field, I have ample time to read, so I have been reading his work for quite some time. And in his work, some things that stand out, the first thing that stands out is the entire historical reference of Hindu scriptures have been compressed to fit in and around the evolution of the Christian mindset. So you'll find that most of our history or historical figures, like say take Adi Shankaracharya or anybody else of the ancient past, you will find that their date of birth and various chronological set of events are having a discrepancy of anywhere between 3 to 600 years. And sometimes it is even one whole millennium being misrepresented. So that is the first thing that you see. The second thing that you see is certain concepts which created a wave in the medieval period. What kind of wave? He was the first one to introduce in his vocabulary something called Aryans, which today in this country they call it as, they pronounce it different, Aryan. Aryan is the Aryan. So he introduces that concept that somewhere northwestern part of Mongolia, closer to the Europe, were a breed, special breed of people who came in bringing a lot of Sanskrit and Vedic literature and science and lot of subtle aspects, and pushed the darker Indians down south. So those darker Indians are Dravidians and the whiter North Indians are Aryans. There are a lot of theories like that. So he brought in the concept of Aryans, believing that what he has presented was right, which he himself has negated in his own voice, gave birth to the Nazi movement, which wanted to have the pure blood breed through Hitler. And then various atrocities done by the British in India. Again, many of us don't dwell into our own history quite well, because sadly even that history which is taught to us is thanks to the first Prime Minister, who was neither an anthropologist nor a historian nor an Indologist. He wrote a book, A History of India. Do you know what that book is called? Discovery of India. And if plagiarism could be taken seriously, then he could be sued, because he copied and pasted everything that Max Muller had presented. Sadly, that is taken as authority for all the Indian books of history taught in the school. That is why we don't dwell more than what is being presented. Now going back, that was the first theory. The first thing is the dates are confusing. The second aspect is the Aryan and the Dravidian. Arya was the very name, like in Hindi we say G. So Arya means that respectful. Arya means for the ladies. Arya is for the gents. Like in Japanese they have San, means G. Similarly, Arya and Arya were used. Now his theory gets debunked because Adi Shankaracharya, who was, where was he? Where was he from? Kerala. And where is Kerala? South India. Southest South, right? Kerala. What was his mother's name? Aryamba. So Arya was used for respect, and it is not referring to a certain race. Dravida, even today we use, Dravida is the name for the plateau. The Indian triangular plateau is called Dravida. So it is a geographical representation and not a representation of a race. And the fourth concept that Max Muller introduced was the Shudras are the untouchable ones. And we, for generations, a sad part that we have been born, brought up, raised as a Hindu, that we don't pay attention to these subtleties, and when these questions are asked, we don't have right answers and we cut a sorry figure, thinking that our ancient past is not worthy to be proud of. That was the whole idea with which Max Muller had begun his research. Now yesterday I proved, or I went into the logic of who these untouchables are. Did I give you a good assessment or clarity about it? Yes, no,
Yes.
some. Okay, good. Now we find that the reference of this Varna Dharma comes in Purusha Suktam, comes in Bhagavad Gita, comes in various scriptures. Now they talk about it in various references. Yesterday what we discussed was at a level of society. In Purusha Suktam, after having established about the society, there is a different twist taken to this entire logic of Varna Dharma as a evolution of personality. Wherein in the Purusha Sukta it is said that Mukhat Brahmana Ajayata. That it was the Mukha which was the Brahmana, Bahu Rajanyah, Uru Tadasya Yadvaishyaha, Padbhyagam Shudro Ajayata. So within the same person, if you have to develop a complete assessment of personality, a comprehensive personality, then all these four aspects should reflect in that individual who wants to aim for growth. So Brahmanaha, one has to educate themselves. One has to educate for the purpose of learning, growing and removing all the shackles of ignorance. Not for economic status, which is what sadly is our education today. That we are educating ourselves and next generation so that they can make a good living. Education's purpose is to learn, to grow and to break the shackles of ignorance. So Brahmanaha meaning to educate oneself. And wherever there is knowledge, it reflects as fearlessness. Ignorance leads to fear, so knowledge should lead to fearlessness. Nirbhayatvam. We chant, right? Buddhir balam yashodhairyam nirbhayatvam. That fearlessness is not the fearlessness that is shown in the movies. That you are surrounded by 10 or 15 goons and then you are whacking them out. Nah, that doesn't make sense. If ever there are 10 or 15 around, the best solution, run and run like hell. And it does not say that you are a coward. What is true fearlessness? That which is born out of knowledge. Knowledge leads to fearlessness. So that is the Brahmanatva. And then one has every right to protect one's own self. That you cannot allow the society or people around to use you or your presence or abuse you as a doormat. So stand up for yourself and protect yourself. So the word that is used is swabhimana, swa-abhimana, self-worth, self-pride. But the self-worth and self-pride is not a permanent barrier that is created around the personality. It is like a protective layer for the personality so that the personality has enough room to grow. Having grown, that layer has to be eradicated. Like when you plant a tree. And these are not shrubs. This is a tree that you have planted. And when it grows to a certain extent, up until then you have a fence. And after that you have 3 or 4 strings tied down to the peg and give it a good support system. And at a certain point, this support system that you have created You should be watchful, you should be careful that when the tree is growing beyond that support, what do we have to do? Cut that support, otherwise that support where it is being supported, that very point becomes the weakest point for the entire existence of the tree. Similarly, for the personality, yes, create that barrier of swabhimana, that nobody will mess with you. But that is not a permanent structure. After having gained deep roots of clarity and understanding, when you grow high in conviction, these barriers have to be shun aside. That is the Kshatriyatva. And what is the Vaishya? A Vaishya's job is to promote and execute certain jobs of the society. Similarly, at a personal level, it is said, it is not good enough that you are good. You have to represent and express yourself also as good. Like when you go to a restaurant, whether the food is good or not, what they have learned is to present that food in the most palatable manner. Now you go home and the food is smelling good, tasting good, but the vessel is all over leaking, and there are stains all over, and it is put in. Do you feel like touching it? You're like, it is not good to be good, but it is that you have to express that goodness in the most efficient manner. Because your nature is good, not to be selling yourself, not to catch attention by selling that goodness, but just to express that goodness because it is your nature. And with all these earlier three, at each level, there is high probability of that individual to develop big horns of ego. And how does one root oneself down to the earth, be ground to the earth? It is when you are grounded, padbhyam shudro ajayata, that we develop that humility by seva bhava. Seva bhava, that it is not the world's responsibility to serve my needs, but it is my necessity to serve the needs of the society and the people around. With that mindset, I use the earlier three skill sets for my benefit as well as for the benefit of the society in general around me. Now, both at the macrocosmic level and at the microcosmic level, both at the samashti and vyashti, we see that this can be applicable. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because this is confusing. Now, once we have understood this concept, then Bhagavan makes a very bold statement in the next 2-3 shlokas. Repeat after me. स्वे स्वे कर्मण्यभिरतः,
स्वे स्वे कर्मण्यभिरतः.
Do you know what shloka we are in? 45. संसिद्धिं लभते नरः,
संसिद्धिं लभते नरः.
स्वकर्मनिरतः सिद्धिं,
स्वकर्मनिरतः सिद्धिं.
यथा विन्दति तच्छृणु.
यथा विन्दति तच्छृणु.
स्वे स्वे कर्मणि अभिरतः संसिद्धिं लभते नरः. स्वकर्मनिरतः सिद्धिं यथा विन्दति तच्छृणु. Those who are recognizing their guna and the karma based from their guna. Having recognized the guna and the karma, recognizing the talent, potentiality and skill within. That was another beautiful aspect of the ancient Gurukula system. That when the student is sent to the Gurukula, it was the job of that Guru to interact with that Shishya. First 1 to 2 years, there would not be much taught, as an education process or anything was not taught. But one thing was regularly performed or practiced was doing their Sandhya Vandana. Trikala. 3 different times of the day they would perform their Gayatri mantra, while it is given a complete freedom for the student to get that rapport with the teacher and for the teacher to get an opportunity to understand the mindset, qualities and the skill sets that that child is born with. Then the rest of the training is to evolve that pattern of talent, skill that that child has, while catering to their swadharma of the varna that they belong to. And to make this clear, let us take the example. Examples will make it easier to understand. How many are the Pancha Pandavas?
5.
Very good. Pancha Pandavas are 5. What is the sequence of their, like the oldest to the youngest? Very good. Yudhishthira, then was Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva. 5 Pandavas. When they were enrolled into Gurukula, it was Guru Dronacharya's job to teach each one of them Kshatriya Vidya. The Kshatriya Vidya includes art of war, organizational skills, administrative skills, the skill set required to use different kinds of arms and ammunition, strategies that are involved, economic growth, internal and external affairs. All these aspects were a comprehensive teaching pattern of the Kshatriya Vidya, including town planning, town development was also a part of Kshatriya Vidya. Along with that, each one of them, based on their skill sets, were taught something more than Kshatriya Vidya. Now let's focus on the Kshatriya Vidya first. Though there were different kinds of arms and ammunition, each one had a specific liking and a skill to use a certain kind of arms and ammunition. What was Yudhishthira good at? Spear. What was Bhima good at?
Mace.
Bhima was good at mace as well as on Dvandva Yuddha, what we call wrestling today. He was good at both. Arjuna, needless to say, bow and arrow, archery. Nakula and Sahadeva were both good at? They were good swordsmen. Both of them were very good with swords. So that particular skill was recognized and they were taught that particular skill to excel in that. So much so that when Balarama comes to check, Balarama gets his match in Bhima, therefore he doesn't like Bhima and starts liking Duryodhana because he is no match to Balarama. Oh, you didn't know that?
We just know that he is a favorite disciple for Duryodhana.
Duryodhana is favorite disciple,
That's all we know.
and he wanted to have him as his what do you call Samdi?
For his sister.
Yeah, for his sister he wanted, and then later for his own son he wanted the alliance with Duryodhana. So that's a different story. Now let us look at the other skill sets. Yudhishthira showed a keen interest in judicial system and law. Therefore he was taught, that was his extra passion. Therefore he became such an excellent student of it that he was recognized as Dharmaraja Yudhishthira. At that time there was nobody more skillful than Yudhishthira in that particular field. Now just because the older brother was very good with Dharma Shastra, Bhima did not choose any of that. What did he become excellent at? Paka Shastra. Paka Shastra, to become a chef. Do you know that? And it served his purpose dual ways. He loved cooking and he loved eating. Nobody would question how much did you cook, how much did you eat. Cook and eat. Arjuna, what was his skill set? Dance was not his skill set because he learnt it during the Ajnatavasa through Ramba for 1 year. And later got into trouble because of that. His passion, profession and skill were all aligned, which in today's terminologies, if I had to use, his profession and passion were aligned, and it was archery. Very rare few who have that opportunity, where the profession and passion merge to become one. Nakula was very good with astrology. Sahadeva was very good. He is also mentioned in couple of places as one of the foremost animal doctors, veterinary. In fact, during the Mahabharata war, his name is mentioned so many times that he would tend the entire night. Bhima's job was to clean up the entire battlefield. Sahadeva's job was to tend to all the animals that have gotten injured, whether it was Pandava's animals or it was the Kaurava's animals. That was his specific skill set. So he says here, Sve Sve Karmani Abhirataha, recognizing that talent, that potential and Swadharma, nourishing and flourishing that Swadharma, those who perform the action based out of that, Samsiddhim Labhate Naraha, such people will find fulfillment in life. They shall not feel burnt out in life. They shall not feel bored or mechanical in life. They don't need a vacation to enjoy life. Their entire expression and interaction with the world itself is an enjoyment. Which is unlike today, after 3 or 4 years into one particular field, and I say, I think I have to now start searching for something new. Why? I already feel burnt out. I feel mechanical. I feel bored. Why? Because there is calling inside is one direction, and later what we end up doing is something else. And even the professions that we choose is a very funny pattern. There are so many that I have seen have done their architecture or civil engineering or I would say microbiology, masters in microbiology and other courses. And after having done that, what do they become? They start coding. They start become software, hardware engineers. Why? Papi pet ka sawal. Because it is survival skills that kicks in. You have learnt and you have qualified yourself in one field, and what you are doing is completely a different field, and both of them don't match. And that rupture, that friction, constantly eats from within. There's so many such examples that can be taken. That we prep for something, master for something, and as Einstein would put it, everybody is talented. You cannot qualify a fish's talent, a talent of a fish, by asking the fish to climb a tree. And as parents, the greatest and the best that we can do for our children is not just force them, enforce them into different fields and educate them, but to recognize that talent, that potential, that skill, and provide that room for them to learn, groom, flourish, and grow, excel in that particular talent, in that particular skill. I'll tell you another aspect. Coming from the Indian mindset, I'm not talking of Hindu mindset, Indian mindset. Back in India, we had to compete against 1.3 billion population. Therefore, you have to do things in such a way that you can create a livelihood. It's a necessity there when you are in that kind of population. That's why when you look at those who have grown up there and those who are growing up here, one striking difference, that those who have grown up there, without any negative connotation, they're street smart. Throw them in any environment out there in the world, they will not just survive, they'll thrive. Am I saying anything exaggerated?
No.
Throw them anywhere. And those who grow up here, what is great about them?
Honesty.
They are straightforward. They are so straightforward that even if they are not honest, they'll come up and tell you that they are not being honest.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Because they don't have to compete. Their survival is not at risk. Their evolution is not at risk. And I'm saying evolution, it is not between species. I'm talking of evolution as an individual, to evolve and bloom as an individual. It's not at risk. Instead of recognizing those patterns, instead of recognizing their talent and skills, if we push them only to make a living, yes, you have helped them make a living, but have we made them happy? Have we made them content? Have we given them a satisfying life? Probably a question. Now, parenting is one field. I understand that aspect also. Parenting is one such difficult field wherein do your damned, don't your damned. If you don't give them this expertise to make a livelihood, who will be blamed? I'm like this because of you only. If you don't focus on it and give them all liberty to go search and find their talent, and they did, and they don't make a good living, who is blamed again? Do your damn, don't your damn. As you must have seen the MasterCard advertisement. This coffee, double espresso, $5. Water, this many dollars. A vacation, so many dollars. There are some things which are priceless. And what is it that is that priceless? I thought you were saying so.
Is it money can buy instead of price?
See, the true wealth is that which stays even after all the wealth is gone. Even all the money is gone, what stays? That is true wealth. Satisfaction, happiness and peace of mind is that true wealth. And that through which we acquire it, because that is the greatest wealth, is called sadhana. That true wealth through which you get is called sadhana. Does it make? Sve sve karmani abhiratah. When they are involved in their individual